Welcome to the HESI A2 Test Prep online lesson series. In this session, we'll go over the math section of the HESI test. In this video, we'll go over 15 math questions for your HESI A2 Test Prep. We'll evaluate algebraic expressions using the value of variables, solve simple linear equations, simplify algebraic expressions, expand brackets, simplify algebraic expressions with exponents, and work on algebraic inequalities. Before we start, make sure you have a pencil and paper so we can take notes and follow along through the problems. Then download the Test Prep app from the App Store or Google Play. It has homework and a practice test to support this lesson. The app also has a prediction test so you know exactly when you're ready to take the real test. Let's get started. Evaluate the expression x cubed plus 8y when x equals 2 and y equals 0.5. All we're going to do is plug in x equals 2, and y equals 0.5 into this expression. So we'll substitute x with 2 and y with 0.5. 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which equals 8. And 8 times 0.5 is the same as 8 times a half, which is 4. 8 plus 4 equals 12. Question 2. Solve for x in the following equation. The absolute value of 2x minus 8 equals 6. Whenever we have an absolute value, we're going to create two situations, one that's positive and one that's negative. We'll do positive first, so 2x minus 8 equals positive 6. Add 8 to both sides. 6 plus 8 equals 14. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 7. Now in our second situation, we're going to make 6 negative. 2x minus 8 equals negative 6. Add 8 to both sides. Negative 6 plus 8 equals 2. 2x equals 2. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 1. Our answers are x equals 1 and x equals 7. Question 3, if f of x equals 3x squared minus 5, what is the value of f of 3? We're going to replace all of the x's in this expression with 3's. Instead of f of x, we have f of 3 equals 3, parentheses, put that 3 in there, squared, minus 5. All we did was plug this 3 into where this x used to be. 3 times 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, minus 5. 3 times 9 is 27, minus 5. And 27 minus 5 is 22. Question 4, the mean of 6 consecutive numbers is 36.5. What is the largest number? 6 consecutive numbers is going to mean one number after the other. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. If the mean is 36.5, 36.5 is going to be right in the middle of all of those numbers. So if 36.5 is here, and this is our middle, the first whole number greater than 36.5 is going to be 37. The first whole number smaller than 36.5 is going to be 36. We need 6 consecutive terms, so we're going to go out to the right and out to the left. After 37 is 38. Before 36 is 35. Now we have 4 numbers. We need 2 more. We'll go out to the right again. 1 more than 38 is 39. 1 more less than 35 is going to be 34. Now we have 6 consecutive numbers whose mean is going to be 36.5 because 36.5 is right in the middle of those 6 numbers. The question is asking about the largest number, which is 39. Question 5, what is the value of x in the following equation? We could solve for x here by subtracting 1/2 x from each side, like this, minus 1/2 x, minus 1/2 x. We would have our x's on the left, then we would add 3/10 to both sides, plus 3/10 plus 3/10. But working with fractions can sometimes be messy. We can use a trick called clearing the fraction to skip any kind of work with fractions. To do that, we're going to look at the denominators of all of the fractions in our problem. Those denominators are 5, 10, and 2. What is the greatest common, or the least common denominator? Least common denominator, it's going to be 10, right? Because 5 times 2 is 10, 10 times 1 is 10, 2 times 5 is 10. So 10 is the smallest number that each of those denominators can be multiplied into. That means we're going to multiply our equation by 10, and that will clear the fractions. Let me rewrite the original problem here. 3/5 x minus 3/10 equals 1/2 x. We're going to multiply the left by 10, and we're going to multiply the right by 10. 3/5 times 10 is going to be 6. 6x. You can think about that as if 10 is a fraction, 10 over 1, and then we can simplify because we have a 10 in the numerator and a 5 in the denominator, so we can divide out 5. That makes 2 and 1, right? So now we're doing 2 times 3x, which is 6x. If we're multiplying 10 by 3 over 10, which is the second fraction in those parentheses, the 10's cancel, right? We can divide out a 10 instead of a 5, and we're left with minus 3. Ten times 1/2 is 5. That's 5x. Now we subtract 5x from both sides. We have x minus 3 equals 0. Add 3 to both sides. X equals 3. Question 6, simplify 4x minus 2x squared minus 7xy minus 2x squared plus 5xy. The important thing to notice here is that this minus is going to distribute to both of these terms. So a super easy mistake to make is that we would do 4x squared minus 2x squared minus 7xy minus 2x squared plus 5xy. That's a super common mistake. But because that minus is outside the parentheses, it's going to distribute to everything inside those parentheses. So we'll end up with 4x minus 2x squared minus 7xy minus 2x squared minus 5xy. Combine like terms. We have minus 2x, which will make minus 4x squared. We have a 4x by itself. That stays the same, positive 4x minus 7xy minus 5xy makes minus 12xy. Question 7. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to 3x times 5 plus 2y? Again, we're going to distribute. This time we're distributing a 3x. So we'll do 3x times 5, which is 15x. Then we'll do 3x times 2y, which is going to be 6. We're going to multiply 3 and 2. 6xy. So we're going to keep the x and we're going to keep the y. Question 8. What is the area of a parallelogram if its length is x minus 3 and its height is x plus 5? Recall from the last lesson that the area of a parallelogram is the same as the area of a rectangle. It's just length times width. Length is x minus 3. I'm going to put that in parentheses. And width is x plus 5, which will also go in parentheses. Now we're going to FOIL. So we'll do x times x and x times 5, distributing that x first. And then we'll distribute the negative 3. So we'll do negative 3 times x and negative 3 times positive 5. So starting out, we're doing x times x, which is x squared. Then x times 5, which is 5x. Then we're doing negative 3 times x, which is minus 3x. And finally, we're doing minus 3 times positive 5, which is minus 15. Combine like terms. We still have this x squared. We can combine 5x and negative 3x to make positive 2x. And then minus 15 stays the same. Question 9, subtract 2x plus 3y plus 3 from 2y plus 1. Okay, we're subtracting this from this. So we're going to do 2y plus 1. Put that in parentheses, minus, we'll put this in parentheses, 2x plus 3y plus 3. So just like before, this minus is outside of the parentheses, so it's going to distribute to everything inside the parentheses. The 2y plus 1 will stay the same and the parentheses will go away. We have minus 2x minus 3y minus 3. Let's see if we can combine any like terms. I have minus 2x, that's my only x. Then I have positive 2y and a negative 3y, which will make minus 1y, or just minus y. We have positive 1, negative 3, which will make negative 2. Our answer is minus 2x minus y minus 2. Question 10. Solve for all values of x in the equation. X squared minus 25 equals 0. X squared minus 25 equals 0. Add 25 to both sides, so we have x squared alone. X squared equals 25. Take the square root of both sides because the square root will cancel the square, leaving us with x. The square root of 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25. And then the important thing to notice here is that whenever we take the square root of a variable, like we did right here, we create two situations, a positive and a negative. So this answer isn't just 5, it's plus or minus 5. So x equals negative 5 or positive 5. We can check that by plugging back into this equation. If we have negative 5 squared minus 25 equals 0. Negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, which is positive 25, because a negative times a negative is a positive. We have positive 25 minus 25 equals 0. 25 minus 25 is 0. 0 equals 0. This tells us that negative 5 is a good answer. We can do the same thing with our second answer, which was positive 5. Positive 5 squared minus 25 equals 0. 5 squared is 25, right? Positive 5 times positive 5 is 25. Minus 25 equals 0. And 25 minus 25 is 0. Again, we have 0 equals 0. So both of these answers are good. So that's why we create this plus or minus situation, because whether we put a positive 5 or a negative 5 into x squared, it's going to become positive because of the square and make this equation true. Question 11, y to the 4th times y to the 6th. This is just a rule we're going to need to remember. Whenever we multiply exponents with the same base, exponents are added. By same base, I mean whatever is being raised to a power. In this case, we have y being raised to the 4th power times y being raised to the 6th power. So here our base is y, right? They're the same, so we're going to add our exponents. So this becomes y to the 4 plus 6, which equals y to the 10th. Question 12, what is the value of parentheses 8 minus 5 root 2, parentheses 8 plus 5 root 2, multiplying those together. Just like before, we're going to FOIL, so we're going to distribute this 8 to both of these numbers, and then we're going to distribute this negative 5 root 2 to both of these numbers. First, we'll do 8 times 8, which is 64. Then we'll do 8 times 5 root 2. All we're going to do is multiply the 8 and the 5. The root 2 goes along for the ride. So we have plus 40 root 2. Then we're doing the same thing, minus 5 root 2 times 8. Minus 5 times positive 8 is minus 40. The root 2 goes along for the ride. finally we're doing minus 5 root 2 times plus 5 root 2. Minus 5 times plus 5 is going to be minus 25. Root 2 times root 2 is going to be 2. So the square root of a number times the square root of the same number equals the number. Just write that out to make sure that's clear. Square root 2 times square root 2 equals the square root of 2 squared, right? Because we have the same number twice, these will cancel, and we're left with 2. That's true no matter what's inside of the square root. So notice in the middle here we have plus 40 root 2, minus 40 root 2. Those are the same but opposite signs, so they'll cancel just the same way plus 1 would cancel with minus 1. And we're left with 64 minus 25 times 2. 25 times 2 is 50. And then 64 minus 50 equals 14. Question 13, the square root of 81, x to the 4y to the 6th equals. So important to note here, this is the exponent of x. X is being raised to the 4y to the 6th, right? All of that is the exponent of x. We can rewrite 81 as 9 squared. 9 squared is 81. And we can rewrite x to the 4y to the 6th power as 2y to the 3rd squared. The reason this is true is because whenever we have a power raised to a power, we multiply. So power raised to a power means multiplication. So in this case, x 2y cubed raised to the 2, or it's just squared, would equal x to the 4, y to the 6th. So we're replacing this with this in our square root all the way up here. Why are we doing that? Because a square root cancels with the square. So we're canceling out those squares, and we're left with 9x to the 2y cubed. The y-intercept of the equation below is, the equation is 9x plus 5y equals 35. Find the y-intercept. By setting x equal to 0. Why is that? Well, if we have a line on a coordinate system, we want to know the y-intercept, which is where our line crosses the y-axis, which is that vertical axis. Well, we're going to cross when x equals 0. So we'll plug in 0 for x. 9 times 0 plus 5y equals 35. 9 times 0 is 0. We're left with 5y equals 35. Divide both sides by 5. Y equals 7. Question 15. Minus 2x plus 8 is less than 30, then x equals. Let's rewrite that problem. Minus 2x plus 8 is less than 30. Subtract 8 from both sides. We get minus 2x is less than 22. Divide both sides by negative 2. We have x and negative 11. Because we divided by a negative, the inequality flips directions. So instead of facing to the right, it's now going to face to the left. That's true if we multiply as well. So when we multiply or divide, by a negative, inequality flips direction. Don't forget to download the HESI Test Prep app from the App Store or Google Play, where you'll find homework and a practice test for this lesson. Make sure you score at least 80% on the practice test before moving on to the next lesson. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.